My name is Andrew Worcester. Today we are talking about Radioactive, which is an Amazon Prime original movie starring Rosamund Pike as Marie Curie, who is the scientist, the first female scientist to win a Nobel Prize and the discoverer of the element of radium. Now, I don't know much about radium as much as I should. I do know that it does help with radiation for cancer, a really positive thing, and that's certainly talked about in the movie. The other part, it blows up things with the atomic bomb. It led the way to get there. And that's something that they talk about extensively in the movie as well. The dangerous properties of radium. And now they didn't understand that. And it's very much a biopic. Now, I knew of the name Marie Curie. I knew that what she did. But the ins and outs of how she got there, the time period where she discovered it, which was really interesting to get into, because it very much is a story about her life, up to the point where she starts her discoveries. It shows her as a young scientist trying to get accepted in a man's world. She's in France, where she's doing her research, and she's very stubborn, and she's very mindful, and she's very self-absorbed. But you also see her intelligence and her genius at work as well. And you kind of see, especially as a woman in those times, you need those other qualities to not give up. And you even see a moment when she gets kicked out of her lab towards the beginning of the movie that she might give up. She thinks about giving up, but then she can't live with herself because it is who she is. And she has that strong enough self-identity that she soldiers on through that. And it's also a story about, in a way, fate, a way about finding other people around you. And I guess that's part of not giving up, because the more you take action and the more you work towards something, you can find these other people that can help you out. And she actually finds another scientist that was in her building. It's a large, research facility, so they didn't really interact or know each other, but they knew each other's work because they had produced, papers on different subjects. And so it's by chance they meet and they form a weird kind of dynamic of, I want to say a friendship, but she, I guess, gets to the point where she allows him to help her. And it's really hard because she's really willful, but he understands her and understands her intelligence, understands why she is how she is, and believes in her work and believes in her intelligence. Which to me, it wasn't. Their relationship was certainly discussed, and that was a main focus of the 70% of the movie, was them working together. But what they showed, without being overly pushy about it or in your face about it, was how people can connect with you and make you better. How their support or their guidance or their not telling you what to do, but be there to offer another opinion to make you think something in a different way, really is valuable. And even people that are stubborn and think that, I don't want to change, I am who I am, but to understand that that's kind of narcissistic, and to be able to open up to being to other ways as well. And they just had a connection that really made each other better. And it wasn't over the top, it didn't hit you over the head, but watching it in some of the montages and all their interactions, even when they were jealousy, even when there was arguments or discontent or frustration, you always saw that in them. And I'm not spoiling too much because it is history, so I will say this: if you want to watch, well, I won't even say it. If you don't know the history of Marie Curie in her life and how things play out, I won't spoil it for you. I would definitely recommend this movie. It's very much, if you like The Theory of Everything, which is a story about Stephen Hawking, I would recommend this as well. I would say something like The Theory of Everything, and it's what I'm finding is the streaming services movies. There's a big difference between this movie would never go to the theaters. Even before superhero blockbuster movies, it probably would never go to the theaters because it is missing a few components of narrative story that something like The Theory of Everything, which is about Stephen Hawking, had. He had the challenges of getting sick and having the disease and still discovering all these things. She didn't quite have that arc. And because of that, it really was it was almost like it was a fascinating story. Her coming up, her getting the opportunity to work on a theory, her coming up with this theory, her working really hard to get to the point where she could prove the theory, and up to her proving the theory, and the fame that came from her proving the theory, and now she rejected the fame. It's like, that's not what science is about. That's not what she's doing this for. She's doing this for the science. That's all it was for her. And I love that part of it because it's so idealistic and so true to her as a character. But also because of that, so that was like the first 60% of the movie. The last 40% is after the fact. And it is interesting because it does show the effects, and it flashes forward on some of it, and it does show the effects of what radium produces. And there's a scene where people are asking them if they could use radium for this idea and this idea. And their idea of science, which is Marie Curie and her husband, who co-created everything, and they got the Nobel Prize for the discovery as well, was that science is built upon people standing on the shoulders of other scientists, which means you discover something, but you don't patent it. You allow it to exist so that other people can expand on it and make different things and make better discoveries and more discoveries, and it keeps on escalating and multiplying. So there's also the idea of, well, by doing that, you allow people with ill intentions to create things from it as well. And that's when they get into the atom bomb a little bit, and they flash forward to different, really interesting. I've never seen, there's only been a handful of movies I've seen where they show an atomic bomb explosion. And they had a couple in this one that were really powerful. One especially, which was in I'm not giving this away, it was a flash forward towards the second half of the movie. And they showed Hiroshima. And it tells you Hiroshima and tells you the date. And then it's not that long. Maybe it's like 10 seconds where they're walking. It's like the camera's walking through a village or like a town square where all these people are just, shopping or hanging out, and they're playing with their kids. And you see this man there walking around, and then he looks up and you see this thing falling from the sky. And he looks at it, not has any idea what it is, obviously. And then he pans out to the wide shot, and you see the mushroom cloud and this explosion, and everything that you just saw, is just destroyed and devastated and gone. And it really hit me for the power of what that was. And I don't know as much science how that all works as I should or really want to. I haven't invested the time in that, but that scene was probably the most powerful, because it's really fascinating to know about Marie Curie and about her work and how she discovered things, and how the idea kind of came up to her, and what she discovered went against how everyone thought it was already, and how because of little thing inside her, or because of other paperwork that someone else had discovered something, and she took that idea as like, well, if that's true, then this over here could be true. And that's when she started with her idea, and that's how everything was formulated, which is, again, how science kind of works. It's built off of other research to get to someplace else or spur a different idea that someone might take an idea one way, but someone else could take it in a different way that no one else would ever think of, and that's when these crazy, breakthroughs happen. But as positive as it was, there's so many negative effects, and the negative effects for people getting sick because of it came up even when she was alive, and that was hard because there's a lot of racism or hatred towards her, where it showed the fame and then it showed the flip of that too. So it was really, that was kind of hard to watch and really interesting to watch, because she didn't really want any of the notoriety or the fame or obviously the hate. She just wanted to do her science, and she fell in love, and she just wanted to do the science with the person that she loved. So I would definitely recommend the movie. It is something that you have to kind of be like aware and conscious, and it's not like a popcorn movie where you can just not focus on it. You do want to focus on it and kind of understand the science and the history of what she's doing and who she is, and the character study, because it's more of about the movie about the characters rather than there's obviously the intrigue of the science inside and the plot and everything, but it's really about who she was and how she became, how they came up with the idea, and going through her life and the ups and downs and the challenges of that. So it's called Radioactive. Right now it's on Amazon. It came out, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely something I would check out when you have a couple minutes. And thank you for sticking around for, 10, 12 minutes here. We'll be back for the next one soon.